Okay, welcome back. Last time we learned from Trial that our friend's ether is thinning, so we need to hurry up and figure out how to get them back home. And to that end, we came to visit this guy, but we had to fight all of his magical Fey familiars. And now we're gonna ask him for help.
That was my fiercest familiar. Oh, impressive.
Thanks. Exarch? Graha?
Becklook, 'tis good to see you again after all these years. And judging by your vigorous greeting, I dare say the feeling is mutual. To be sure, a simple shake of the hand would have sufficed by way of welcome, but I shan't complain. But you must be wondering as to the purpose of our visit. We come to beg your assistance in a most urgent matter.
Shake? Beg?
Our comrades' very souls are in danger. If we are to save them, we will need the benefit of your unsurpassed knowledge on the matter. Please, will you not sit and hear our plea?
Oh, how dare you! How dare you speak thus in my presence! It was to escape such words of temptation that I hid myself from the world of men. You are sinners, one and all, and I swore never again to have any part in your affairs.
I can only imagine what terrible events forced you into a life of seclusion. But I know that the Numo are a good and noble folk. It is not in your nature to turn a blind eye to the plight of those around you. And in treating with us, I am certain whatever mistrust you feel for man will begin to heal.
Alphino, what did you do?
If you will not be satisfied, I suppose I could listen. After all, there's no harm in just... No, I mustn't. Not again. That damn court mage seemed to have the best of intentions too, and countless innocents died for my naivety. Oh, you know not what you ask of me, what horrors my knowledge has wrought.
You mean the magical plague of Obert? I'm not gonna be mean and use a dog command.
You know of the plague? Then you know how dangerous soulcraft can be. Instead of saving your friends, you risk damning them. Are you sure you're willing to take that chance? No. No. Oh, very well. I will hear your petition, but that is all. And I expect fitting payment for my troubles.
Okay.
Commensurate with your contribution to our cause. No more and no less, I promise you. With that settled, might I impose upon you to join us at the Crystarium? I'm afraid the nature of my friend's predicament calls for absolute secrecy.
To the Crystarium. Oh, no. Elfino's right here. There you are. The others have gone ahead to the Crystal Tower with Backlog. For the record, I truly wish we hadn't had to resort to using such words when treating with them. I have ever sought to convince, not compel. Yet I cannot deny that a part of me is glad Oriange shared this knowledge of the new Mo with us. Had he not, Backlog wouldn't be here. Speaking of whom, we should hurry. To keep our guests waiting would only add insult to injury. A welcome guest. We mustn't dally here any longer, Asuka. If Backlog is to hear the truth of our travails in the first, you of all people should be present. Okay. Now to the Crystarium. Bloop. Let me in, please. Thank you. Dun, 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 dun. Looks like the Exarch is talking about what's going on. Still.
I'm sorry. You mean to tell me not only that the return of night was your doing, but that you hail from another world as well?
Yes.
Everything we told you, of the source, the shards, the 7 umbral calamities, all of it is true. I realize how fantastical it sounds, and I would not blame you for doubting our testimony. But given your expertise, you must surely have noted the peculiar nature of their souls.
Any other time and I would have dismissed your stories as balderdash and flummery. But upon closer inspection, 'tis plain their souls are far denser than is normal, and that they do not possess true bodies.
Flummery is my new favorite word.
Save you. Your body is your own. And your soul is the densest of them all.
Thanks.
As I said before, were it not for their heroism, the skies over Norvrant would still be awash with light, the realm yet at the mercy of 4-3 and the Sin Eaters. After all they have done for our home, seeing them safely back to their own seems the very least we can do.
Your tale is intriguing. Yes, very intriguing indeed. Simply to hear it is fitting payment in itself. As for your friends, I can but agree. Their valorous deeds on behalf of Norvrant are deserving of recognition, of their own fitting payment.
You will help us then?
I will. I would see my knowledge put to good use for a change. I do have one condition, however. I am not the spry young Numo I once was. As such, I will require assistance in my fieldwork and testing.
Sure.
It would be our pleasure. We'll be laboring for our own benefit after all.
Dun, 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 dun. Backlog. You have spun quite a tale, but tell me, have you given any thought as to how you might return to your world? White Auracite, you say? An intriguing proposition, but one which fails to account for the present state of your souls. They have become highly charged, likely as a consequence of having maintained tangible forms for so long. In such an energetic, unstable state, there is no telling what may happen to their souls within the Auracite. They could very well become immutable to transference, never to be restored to their bodies. Then, would it be possible to force our souls into a state of dormancy prior to the transference? Oh, wrong button. In theory, yes, but the soul is not a candle to be snuffed out and relit on a whim. Well, that sounds ominous. What exactly would rendering our souls dormant entail? In order to maintain a corporeal form, your souls constantly draw ether from your surroundings. This process must be halted and the resulting surfeit of ether removed. Your minds would ultimately be separated from these faux bodies of yours, rendering you incapable of interacting with the world around you. A cruel fate under normal circumstances, but one which will be rectified upon your return home. Leaving lifeless husks, like those poor souls at the inn at Journey's Head, corrupted by the Sin Eaters, their ether made stagnant by the light. Corrupted? Stagnant? Might I see these unfortunate individuals? Why, do you think you might be able to help them? I might, or I might not, but I shan't know for sure until I have seen their condition firsthand. Then I would be glad to take you to them, on the understanding that you won't do anything which might increase their suffering. It was my faith in man I lost, not my compassion. Well, I see no need for all of us to accompany you. While you escort our guests to the inn, I will assist Orianger in creating the requisite Auracite. I believe my talents would be better applied to that endeavor as well. Might I leave the three of you to assist Backlog as necessary? Sure. Let us make for our meringue then. To the inn at Journey's Head. Hello, Backlog. So, this is Hulric, is it? Yes, his etheric balance leans perilously toward the light, toward stasis. What do you propose, or what do you suppose will happen to him? Not too bright, are you, boy? The same as all poor souls corrupted by the light. He will become a sin-eater. You don't know that. We've defeated the Wardens and banished the light from the night sky. Hulric is was completely unresponsive before, but now... Mumble. Then perhaps there is yet hope. If I may, there is a treatment I wish to administer to the patients. What sort of treatment? In the course of my studies of the soul, I once created a tonic which could temporarily stimulate the ether in one's body. After some refinement, it came to be used by the Knights of Verbert. Then for darker purposes. Lest it fall into the wrong hands, I swore never again to make it. But for their sakes, I will break that oath. It is not like to reverse the stagnation, mind you, but it should offer some measure of relief. Oh, he's just already given us the tonic. Plunk. No effect on Todden. Honel? How's about you? What is this warmth I feel in my chest? Worked on Ponel. Voin. Have some tonic. Blink. I feel warm, and my legs, they don't feel as heavy. Now then, have you noted any change in the patients? Notable rise in body temperature and increased motor function, in most of the patients at least. The more severely afflicted show no response. As I feared then, 'tis true that with the restoration of night, the corrupting influence of light will no longer grow, and yes, their bodies will naturally return to equilibrium given time. But this holds true only for their corporeal ether. Their incorporeal ether, that of the soul, is not so easily mended. Which is why those in the later stages of corruption, like Hulric, appear unaffected by your tonic. Precisely. The boy's soul is too far gone, his mind held together by the finest of threads. There is a chance he may one day recover, of course, but it could take years, decades even. By the gods, he could wake and find himself an old man. A fine reward for his persistence, the opportunity to mourn the life he never had a chance to live. No, there must be something we can do. Look, I realize this is not why we petitioned your aid, but do you think it possible we can find a way to hasten their recovery? Maybe. Nor do I think it impossible that in treating them, we might learn something of relevance to your own predicament. Cool. Good for the soul. I suspect the Crystal Exarch has told you of my past, that I was once a mage of the royal court of Vorbert, and that soulcraft was my field of study. The tonic you administered to the patients here is one of the fruits of my labors. I hoped to do great things for the kingdom. But in the end, my knowledge brought only suffering, a plague the like of which none had ever seen. In the hands of unscrupulous men, what should have been my greatest triumph instead became my greatest shame. You mustn't dwell in the past. I know that only too well. Alas, the knowledge we require is steeped in such bitter memories. But let us return to the task at hand, finding a means by which we might revitalize these people's incorporeal ether. Do you think it can be done? Were the skies still ablaze with primordial light, I would call it an exercise in futility. But now we may have a chance. The method I have in mind will entail the conjuring of a familiar. They are able to amplify the energies poured into them, making them the perfect conduit for the ether revitalizing magics we will ultimately employ. If you're about to launch into a lengthy explanation of the metaphysics of your plan, don't bother. I'd rather get on with doing whatever it is that needs to be done, if it's all the same to you. Whatever reagents must be procured or spells invoked, I'll do it. I admire your spirit. Very well. Your first task will be to gather the necessary materials. The purest of waters and finest of clays, as well as a fey lantern brimming with pixie magic. If you're convinced that the resulting familiar could help the patients, fine. Alphino, the water and clay will be simple enough, but I think you know what we'll have to do to get the lantern. You don't mean... The pixies took quite a liking to us before. If we humor them with our company, I'm sure they'll be willing to help us. Fine. We'll pay a visit to Ilmeg, though I never thought you would be the one to suggest going back there. I'm impressed you've been there at all, let alone befriended the Fey folk. Oh, while you're about it, seek out the Numo of Plaeni. They will be able to supply you with water suitable for our needs. Right, let's get this over with, shall we? There still remains the matter of the clay. Might I prevail upon you to find it? Sure. Where the clay at? Clay from Amarang would likely be best. Know you of anyone who might be able to assist us? I could ask the miners at Twine. Ah, yes. They will be able to point you in the right direction, I am sure. While you and the twins are occupied, I will see if there is aught else I can learn of the stagnation which afflicts the people here. Let's go to Twine. Magnus. Asuka. Well, what a coincidence. You've come at a good time. We've just this moment finished repairing the Talos and trolley you lot took to Nabatharang. The trolley was no trouble, but the Talos would have been another matter, had we not had a visit from Master Chai. He offered us a share of the leftover building materials for Daedalus Stoneworks, as well as a few trade secrets to help us along. Clever man, that Chai Nuz. He seemed pretty keen on the ideas I had for putting the giant Talos to work. Like a giant trolley, but Magnus still refuses to see all the good we could do with it. You're entitled to your dreams, Jarek. That doesn't mean you can go harassing our guests. Master Chai was just being polite. And something tells me Asuka here didn't come all this way to talk about trolleys. What is it you need, friend? Clay. Really nice clay. I see. and this familiar requires clay from Omarang. Well, look no further. If anyone can find use in quality clay, it's us. Saying that, it isn't exactly a commodity nowadays. There must be some lurking somewhere or other, waiting to be dug up. If I'm not mistaken, there was a time when they used to take clay from Mountain Biren mines to make adobe bricks. The place is swarming with coyotes now, but if you're after the good stuff, you could do worse than look there. I will look there then. Dun, dun. A chocobo in his fancy red armor. I don't know if I've mentioned, but my chocobo's name is Gumbo. Because I name all my chocobos after food. Oh look, there's my destination. Is there clay in this hole? Oh, I got one piece of clay. Here's another clay hole. There we go. 3 clumps of clay. What? How dare you? Back to FFXIV. Hello, FFXIV. The twins have returned, and in one piece at that. I was convinced the pixies would turn at least one of them into a garden ornament, but no. You have the clay, I take it? Yes. Wonderful. We need but combine the clay and the water, then heat the mixture with the Fey Lantern. After that, it will be a simple matter of settling upon a suitable form and performing the necessary incantation. FFXIV, I have a question. In the event that we had need of this spell, and you weren't around, would it be possible for another to perform the incantation? Assuming they possessed the requisite skill, yes. Ulrich and the others have suffered so much, and I swore to do everything in my power to save them. If there is a chance this spell could do that, I would be the one to invoke it. Mayhap you should be the one to do so. A deep understanding of the subject's physical state, combined with a strong desire to help them, can drastically increase the magic's effect. And you are plainly more familiar with these people than I. I dare say there are few in all of Norvrand more dedicated to finding a cure. Is that not so, Oscar? Absolutely. She's the best woman for the job. I'll give it my all. For Ulrich, for Tesleen. Then we are all of a mind on the matter. Alize shall be the one to conjure the familiar.
Let us begin. I trust you've prepared the clay?
Clump.
Very good. Now, I would have you sculpt for me a porksy. plump, with floppy ears and a short curly tail.
A porksy. I think I know what you mean. There we are. How's that?
Well, it is certainly creative. There's no denying that.
Alpha, no.
Yes, yes, I'm no artist. Very funny.
Pay him no mind, child. Though it may look like a grotesque parody of reality, it is what the invoker believes that matters.
You're not helping.
They are making the very best of faces right now.
But I speak the truth. If successful, this incantation will turn imagination into reality. Which is why the only thing of import is what you believe this figure embodies. You must focus. Hold the Porksy's image steady in your mind's eye. Now then, as I taught you, relax and allow your energies to flow.
With flesh of clay I bid thee rise, on wings of dreams to touch the skies. What once was idle fantasy, I call forth to reality.
She did it.
Not bad for a first attempt. Now, let us see what can be done for young Halric. Through the operation of the magics you invoked to animate this familiar, it is now replete with the energies required to stir the boy's soul. You need but give it a name, and it will do as your heart desires.
A name. All right, I've decided. Now. Go, Angelo!
Mother, I...
it worked, sorta. How is he, Backlog? Did it work? I believe it did. You and your fledgling familiar have done well. If my eyes do not deceive, a hint of color has returned to his soul. Gods, I would jump for joy if I weren't so exhausted. We're so close now, Ulrich. As you are even now in the process of discovering, this magic asks much of the invoker. What you may not have realized is that the same is also true of the subject. As such, we must proceed with caution. However, with further treatment, I have the utmost confidence the boy will make a full recovery. Observing the reanimation of his stagnant soul has been most enlightening. I will need time to put my theories to the proof, but I believe I can fashion a spell to produce the opposite effect, that is, to induce stagnation, thus enabling our safe transport back to the source via Orosite. A thought occurred to me about this treatment. Backlog said when the soul is rendered dormant, the mind is separated from the body, that a person becomes incapable of interacting with the world around them. Does that not sound like a lot like some of the tempered back in the source? Not really. It is the fate of most tempered to become slaves to primals, save in a handful of cases, or am I missing something? If I can master this technique, the art of revitalizing the soul, I know of at least one in the source who could desperately use such a treatment. Gabu. Exactly. His condition is uncannily similar to Ulrich's, is it not? The only difference being that his soul is suffused with earth-aspected ether instead of light. It follows that if his soul is subject to a similar kind of stagnation, there may be a chance we can save him, right? Forgive me, but who is this Gabu fellow of whom you speak? Oh, someone from back home? A kobold. I see. His condition does sound similar, yet there is much and more about the soul that remains unknown even to me. I say this not to discourage you, you understand, but to remind you that this is delicate work we do here, work requiring patience. Of course, as long as there is hope for the patients here, I will devote whatever time is needed to see this through. But I refuse to spend that time in idleness. If it's all the same to you, I'd like to stay here with Angelo and continue with their treatment. The two of you should return to the Crystarium with Backlug and see if you can't make some headway with their newly posited theories. I would tell you to rest first, but I see you're not to be convinced. Ah, the fire of youth. Let us return to the Crystarium, then. Finally, I've found you, says someone from off-screen. Oh, it's Kaishir. Kaishir, what are you doing all the way out here? There's trouble back in Yulmore. Lady Chai's beside herself, sighing, pacing the whole lot. Near enough begged me to go out and find you. Sighing and pacing, you say? It must be urgent. I take it I will be returning to the Crystarium alone. Go on, then. It's not as if I have anything for you to do. Thank you, Backlug. Sorry for bothering you and all that, but she says the future of Yulmore's at stake. Well, we'd better go find out what's up. Nowhere to turn. Lady Chai's up in the parlour. Best not keep her waiting, eh? Alright. Off to Yulmore. guy's dressed as Goku. And I have to make that known that I think it's awesome that he did that. Elfino? Well, naught here seems out of the ordinary, though I do not see Lady Chai anywhere. Probably pacing around outside again, staring off into the distance and all that, sighing. Strange. Let us see if we can find her and discover the source of her distress. Off this way. Lady Chai, where art thou? There you are.
Oh, thank heavens you're here.
Lady Chai, whatever is the matter?
I knew not where else to turn. Oh, this is all too much for my poor heart to bear alone.
What happened?
Alone? What of Master Chai?
But that is the very reason I summoned you. He's gone.
What?
What? What happened?
It all began after the events at Mount Gulg. With Lord Vorthry out of the way, we all agreed that a new leader must be chosen.
And so you held an election?
Yes, well, sort of. Not a single person volunteered to stand, you see. After a lifetime of leisure, we free citizens have grown somewhat indolent. Readapting to the harsh realities of life is trying enough, but to take charge of a broken city as well? No one wanted such responsibility. Nevertheless, Yulmore could not well do without a leader, and so we decided that anyone and everyone should be considered a candidate. And after we cast our ballots and tallied the votes, the mayorship fell upon my dear husband.
Well, given the manner in which he orchestrated the construction of the giant Talos, none could deny his leadership qualities.
But even before then, he had proven himself at Daedalus Stoneworks, don't forget. He is more than qualified for the role. The perfect choice. Indeed. I told him as much when his victory was first announced. But perhaps I was too forceful in my attempt to encourage him. For shortly after that, he vanished without a word.
Oh no.
You believe he was so daunted by the burden of leadership that he felt compelled to flee? Please, Lady Chai, dry your eyes. Your husband does not strike me as the sort of man who would abandon his duty, much less his beloved wife. There has to be some other reason for his absence.
You truly think so? What about you? What do you think has become of my husband?
I don't know, but wherever he is, whatever it is, he won't have fled.
And there you have it, Lady Chai. You needn't worry. Master Chai loves you more than all the world, and he will return. Wherever he may have gone, rest assured we will find him.
Thank you, my dear boy. You have set my mind at ease. I will trust in my husband and await his return.
Well, I suppose we gotta go find Chai Nuz now. Elfino? A notable absence. It makes no sense for Master Chai to have left without a word, but even if he had, he would not have done so unobserved. Someone here will have seen something, I'm sure of it. We should split up and inquire as to whether anyone saw him leave, or, failing that, if they have any idea where he might have gone. I will meet you at the Glory Gate to compare notes later on. Alright. We'll go to our assigned red circle. Moen? Master Chai? Why, yes. I spoke with him recently, though I recall he was in a rather dour mood, concerned about Yulmore's neglect of industry, you see. With Lord Balthury's apparently inexhaustible stores of meal, and no great need for money. It's little wonder our businesses were all but forgotten under his rule. But I assured Master Chai that the Boutique of Splendors will do all it can to contribute to the revival of trade here in Yulmore, which seemed to satisfy him. He took his leave soon after. Okay. Now, to the buttress. Running down the stairs. Totally safe, right? Cornen. Looking for Master Chai, are you? Is something amiss? When last I saw him, he seemed ready to collapse from exhaustion. I insisted he rest and catch his breath, and we talked for a while about his concerns over the city's defences, amongst other things. He made more than a few valid points. Many of our men are still recovering after your confrontation with Lord Balthury. Finding General Ranjit in a heap in the middle of the plaza shook us all to the core. The man commanded no small amount of loyalty, and some of our longest-serving soldiers seemed lost without him. Indeed, a number of them left. And not that we blame you, of course. Without you and yours, we would still be blind to the error of our ways. Anyway, funding permitting, I proposed replenishing our ranks with volunteers from the derelicts in Gate Town. We have a duty to protect not only Yulmore, you see, but the surrounding regions of Calusia as well, and I, for one, would welcome any man or woman willing to take up arms for that cause. Indeed, I told him as much, and he seemed relieved to hear it. It was on that note that we parted ways. He headed outside, as I recall. So we've got notes. To the derelicts. Are you okay? You're just hanging on the wall? Well, have fun. Ah! Hathenbet. Aye, I recall a man fitting that description. Asked to speak with the poor buggers lately come from right. Said he wanted to know the state of things down in the derelicts, and you can be sure we gave him an earful, like food, medicine, clothing. There was plenty to tell. We aren't high and low for whatever we can scavenge, and it's barely enough to fill our bellies. The folk here don't just want to survive, they want to thrive. When he heard that, he started mumbling to himself, something about finding us work, I think. Fair play to him, though. Not content with having his ear chewed about the derelicts, he asked about the other settlements and all. After that, I can't really say. Looked like he was headed for Gate Town when last I saw him. Alright. Now to find Elfino. Chickens! Dang it, dead end. Ah, there you are. How did you fare? Have you learned anything which might offer a clue as to Master Chai's whereabouts? Yes. 3 clues, in fact. Interesting. He apparently paid a visit to the Queen Bee as well. They discussed the possibility of granting admission to customers from outside Yulmore, an idea to which the proprietor was surprisingly receptive. Sounds like he's got big plans for the place. Yulmore, I mean, not the bee. Perhaps, but the question remains, where did he go after leaving the city? For the people. All we know for certain is that Master Chai has shown great concern not only for Yulmore, but its surrounding settlements. It seems logical then that having consulted with those within the city walls, he would wish to do the same to those without. Oscar, if you would go and make inquiries in Right, I shall do likewise in Stilltide. Gate Town I leave to you, Kaishir. Fair enough. Where shall we meet when we've finished? Well, Top Rung would seem, to me, to be his next most likely destination. Let us reconvene there. With any luck, one of us will have stumbled upon him by then. If not, we will be well situated to continue our search. Alright. To Right. Where'd it go? There it is. Hastello. Hello, Hastello. No, the name doesn't ring any bells, but there was a rather dapper-looking mystical gentleman here not long ago. He wanted to talk about relations between Wright and Yulmore, or rather the lack of them. We lost a great many people to their promises of meal and the chance of a lavish life among the free. And Volthree thought to take even more from us, conscripting the few able-bodied men we had left to guard his paradise. I needn't tell you what happened when the Sin-Eaters came. Such things are hard to forgive. But Volthree's gone now, and we're curious to see what will become of Yulmore in his absence. That's what I told your friend, Chino's, was it? And I'm sure the others said the same. Not what you wanted to hear, I suppose, because he left soon after, and that was that. Alright, let us go find Elfina. Oh, let's zoom out so you can actually see that. Yep, my polar bear can conjure giant snowflakes. That's his face. Need good lighting. There we go. Such a tall cliff. Elfina. So he paid a visit to both Wright and Gate Town as well, did he? I see. Kaishir and I gleaned much the same. He seems determined to salvage what goodwill might yet remain among the settlements of Clusia. The only likely place he has left to go being Amity. Come, if we are quick, we may yet catch up with him. Alright. To Amity. Chinos, are you here? There you are. Alfino, Asuka, Kaishir, what are you doing here? We might ask you the same, Master Chai. We've been looking all over for you. Looking for me? Whatever for? Lady Chai has been nigh inconsolable in your absence. She claims you disappeared without so much as a word and bade us return you to her side. What in blazes are you talking about? I left a letter for her in our chambers. Though I suppose she could have overlooked it. And when she gets an idea into her head, I can only apologize. No harm done, Master Chai. But since we are here, might I ask what compelled you to come all this way? We were told you had been elected mayor, and from what we've gathered from the nearby villages, you've been inquiring about the people's grievances. Is it safe to assume you mean to take office? Now, let's not jump to conclusions. I did seek to learn about the problems faced by the people of Clusia. That much is true, but I am by no means sure I am the man to solve them. Tackling our many challenges will require resources, and until I have secured them, it would not be right to assume the role of mayor. I see, and you believe said resources can be found here? Indeed, the people's grievances are many, but in the course of my inquiries I have already met with several individuals willing to lend their aid in addressing them. However, there remains one individual crucial to my plans, a man whose counsel might yet make a mayor of me. With respect, such forethought is, in itself, proof of your suitability. The city needs you, Master Chai. I am certain this man of whom you speak, whoever he may be, will reach the same conclusion, but what little it's worth, we will vouch for you, should he require convincing. Whatever you need, you can count on us. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. You've got your actions to speak for you. For as long as I can remember, all I ever wanted was to make it into Yulmore. That dream's gone now, burst like a bubble, or a boil more like. Anyway, outside of repaying Master Alfino, I haven't had a clue what to do with myself. I spent most days in the daze. You've been running up and down trying to find a way to fix this mess for everyone. And I reckon you can do it. You got this lot up Mount Gulg, didn't you? How hard can mayoring be? You're going to steer Yulmore to a better future, I know it. And I want to help, properly help, do something that makes a difference. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll work it out on the way, if you let me come with you, that is. You give me entirely too much credit, the lot of you, but I can't deny it gives me heart. Come then, let us press on together. Thank you, Master Chai. But we mustn't get ahead of ourselves. Yulmore needs more than a man with good intentions, which is why I'm here, to find one with the experience needed to see the city thrive. Who is this man exactly, and are you certain he's here in Amity? Rendon is his name, and yes, he is, or was. I'd scarcely begun to explain myself when he decided his time was better spent elsewhere. He served as chief advisor to Volfrey's father when he was in office. If Ranjit was the mayor's right hand, one might say Rendon was the left, and between them they kept Yulmore on the road to prosperity. The city needs more than a mere man of business, which is why I must find him. But even if you do, what makes you think he will listen? Before giving chase, might it not be wise to speak with those who know him here in Amity? They may be able to shed some light on his reason for rejecting your overtures out of hand. Yes, I suppose that makes sense. Perhaps we should start with Tristal then. As I recall, you made rather a favourable impression on him. I'm certain he would be willing to talk to us. But talking with Tristal is something we will save for next time. because we've gone a teensy bit over, and so this seems like a good place to end it. First, we're gonna look out over the cliff like that and see all those lights shining up off the Yule Alright. Until next time,